My dear colleagues, I am Marcelo from the Spiritist Medical Association of São Paulo, Brazil. I thank you for the opportunity to contribute with this event, with this project of research that we will use the graphoscopy to determine the veracity of the psychographic tests. It is observed that the handwriting of the letters is variable according to each session. This would have mainly two explanations. The first one would be the materialistic explanation that the medium makes it either consciously or unconsciously the disguise to modify the handwriting at each session. And there is also the spiritual premise that states that the spirit taking the hand of the medium produces his or her own calligraphy, thus it differs from one letter to another one. This spiritual premise is very difficult to prove because there's no mean to determine that is a spirit conducting the fist of the medium. Thus, the solution is to evaluate the other hypothesis, and we can say that this materialistic reasoning is very unlike because there are limits on the capacity of disguising ability that cannot be transponed. The graphoscopy was used previously to validate psychography because the graphotechnical analysis can point out if two or more texts come from the same fist or it was wrote by different persons. There were already a successful validating attempt that are published in lay books and non-peer-reviewed journals. They are based on the retrospective analysis of the writings of the exceptional medium Chico Xavier, already dead, and wrote all in Portuguese. We then aim to conduct a prospective analysis. This is an ongoing research already in the phase of project. The objective would be to document to graphotechnical analysis the degree of variation on the writing parameters in each psychographic test by the same medium. And the working hypothesis is that each test will have its own handwriting characteristics. Consequently, it reinforces the spiritual premises in an indirect way. We intend to make these steps. The first one is obtain the psychographed tests from one session. A medium will carry out his usual psychography sessions at this habitual place, and a researcher will be present at each session. Then the tests produced will be scanned at the place of the psychography, and if we obtain the authorization of the recipient of the message, the grieving relative, we will scan there and then we give the letter to the owner. The process will be repeated in further sessions until we have at least 10 handwritings from the same medium. Therefore, several sessions will be necessary, since one session can produce 0 or 4 psychographies. We will then clip the words from the files. The image files will be analyzed, and strategic words will be clipped from these tests that will serve as the standards for comparison between texts. The clipped words would be shuffled to hide their origin. Then the researcher that will make the analysis of the writings will not know from what test the word came from. And these words will be presented in this way you see in the screen. Anonymous words presented to the technical will make the graphotechnical analysis, and we'll choose strategic words such as amor, that is love in Portuguese, that will be repeated in the letters. Graphotechnical analysis will be carried on of each of the presented words. The blind researcher will perform graphotechnical analysis and will classify them according to specific writing parameters, always following the parameters of the graphotechnical expertise course from the National Council of Judicial Experts of the Federative Republic of Brazil. The words will be then regrouped for textual consistency. The words returned to its origin from each letter will be analyzed as for the intratextual convergence, the similarity of the words inside the letter, and the intertextual convergences, the writing parameters consistency between texts. And the expected results is if we have a high intratextual convergence and a low intertextual convergence, it will reinforce the spiritual hypothesis, since the medium would not produce such a result, because the handwriting is an automatic motor always characteristic of a person. So if this working hypothesis is true, it will wake us the materialistic explanation, and it would indirectly reinforce the hypothesis of the persistence of the self after death and the actuality of the mediumnic interaction. This will be very strong, because a graphotechnical analysis is accepted also in court to determine the future of a person. And we still are waiting for some conditions, that is the financial support. The researcher have to go to the city of the medium, and we are waiting for the medium's return to the work after a stop during the pandemics. I know that the mediums already returned to work, and soon this research will be started, and we will present in other moment the results of this research. Thank you for your attention.